Okay, so for this month's Fearless Fridays, I'm here with Annie Ross, who I met, I think, 2.5 years ago or so, paddleboarding down the Thames. But why don't we dive straight in, Annie? You can tell us what were you doing before and what are you working on at the moment?
Of course. Hey, Anna, thank you for having me. I was working at Deutsche Bank in corporate banking for 5 years. And when I met you, I was kind of on my way out. I'd realised I wanted to do something different, but I think what I gather is quite a common panic of the profession you're working in, but it being the only thing you can do. But you know that it's not the challenge you were looking for. So I set my own challenges. I looked at what I really enjoy, and that was staying active. So I launched a project alongside my work that was 52 sporting challenges in 52 weeks. And that stand-up paddleboarding one that we did with Dave was, I think, challenge 23 or something. It was in June, just after the summer solstice, actually, I remember really clearly. And it was those kind of things. It was all about organising things that were work-friendly. I organised and did all of them, obviously, and people could sign up to join me. And so it was 2015, the calendar year of 2015, that we did that. And that gave me the confidence and the platform to learn all the things I wanted to learn outside of my day job. I mean, Exerc became a nighttime, my moonlight job and my weekend job. But it gave me the platform to give me, once payday had happened, to hand my notice in and leave banking. So it was a really nice, crazy year that I met you in. And the last year and a half have been more crazy.
More crazy. Okay, good to hear.
But
that's really interesting, as you said, that you built that platform during that time, because I think a lot of people find me because I wrote an article about how I quit without any kind of plan. And even though that has worked out, and of course it still evolves and so on, I would definitely usually recommend to people that they do exactly what you've done and test things, see if you enjoy it. It is hard to do that full-time outside of a full-time job, but I think it's definitely a more sensible way to go about things.
Yeah, I gave my job purpose, actually, because I was so near wanting to quit, and then some stuff happened in my family life that meant it was a silly year to be making any drastic changes. It gave me the confidence and just it made it fun rather than it being a pressure to start earning money and turn it into a business. It was a really nice way to play around with no pressure. So it worked out really well for me. And yeah, you can quit with no plan. I'm a serial planner, as you can tell by the fact I organised the 52 challenges. Yes. And there's a fear I have linked to completely jumping off a cliff. I quite like going into the unknown, but there's definitely an element of risk aversity to me.
Mm-hmm. And with that in mind then, what was it? What was the moment when you thought, no, this is the time, I'm going to go for it, so I'm going to take the leap, that you haven't done that
as the Procter and Gamble colleague of yours, who you interviewed last week, you kind of just know, like, it wasn't a decision by the end. Admittedly, I've been thinking about it for so long. So what was the final trigger? The final trigger was that I got offered a job off a contact that I'd made from a press launch. During my challenges, I started writing as a fitness columnist for the Evening Standard because my blogs got picked up by them. And so I got invited to all this cool stuff that if work didn't clash with it, or if it was in the city and I could sneak out of work or be a bit late for work. And I met this guy who, a couple of coffees later, said, let's look into you working for us. So that gave me the confidence that I could get a job out of banking. This was at a big sports company. So I handed my notice in off the back of that being a possibility. And then 2 weeks after I handed my notice in, I was working my notice out. I wasn't given gardening leave, which you typically are in banking because I was leaving the industry. I suddenly realised actually I didn't want to go and work for this sports company either because it was just another office job. So I let myself have no plans for a whole 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then a friend of mine suggested a company called Impact Marathon Series, who were launching marathons around the world. They're now running them itself, but it was pre-launched then, and I speak Spanish and hadn't been using that enough in my Deutsche Bank job. So it was this perfect combination of having freed up my time, wanting to speak Spanish and being able to speak it fluently, loving organising sports events and bringing people together, and someone who was willing to fly me out to Colombia to do it. So that's how it ended up being. So the timing was also financial in terms of banking. There was a financial element to it. So I ended up in Colombia 2 weeks after I quit Deutsche Bank on my own for 6 months, organising a marathon that ended up not happening, sadly, but all the work was put in.
And the experience was there, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was exact. There's nothing else. I did Colombia and Nepal with them, race directing Nepal and project managing Colombia, and there was nothing I would have rather have done for my first 7 months out of banking.
Oh,
Because
amazing.
it's traveling and working, and you're engaging with people in a really different way, and you're in a different culture, doing a different job, and again that confidence reiterates itself by chucking yourself into different situations. You realise that actually, if you can work in 3 different countries in the same year, one in banking, one project managing, and one race directing, you can probably do a few other things as well.
Yeah, to really open your possibilities sort of as to what you can do outside of what you thought was the only thing you could do.
Yeah, exactly.
Annie, I'm hearing what sounds like a hamster that's like nibbling on the wires. I'm just wondering if that's your microphone.
No, I'll hold it away.
Maybe is it the hair? I don't know if it's the computer. Just checking.
Yeah, no, I'll hold it here. It's probably my hair.
Because you don't want to distract from their very interesting points that you're saying. So great. So apart from the hamster, what was the biggest challenge that you faced in making that decision, I guess, but also in the transition since then?
I think the decision was pretty fine. The since then has been pretty easy because of going straight into this Impact Marathon series work. And then that finished and I wanted to use my Evening Standard to travel for a bit because I can write travel reviews, which is a benefit.
Amazing.
Then a natural decision to want to come home and be with my friends, my network, create a business was a really nice decision to make, like naturally just calling a day on that kind of nomad living in South America life, or working more than traveling. Since then it's been weird because you come back and everyone's like, oh my God, you're back. You must be back for a reason. And you're kind of like, yes, but I don't know what that reason is yet. And that kind of what next, and you're back and the excitement and not knowing how you are. Someone who I associate like labels, like it's like I worked at Deutsche Bank, I did this, I did that, and I don't know what I'm doing now. Made me feel really really fidgety and anxious, I suppose. And so that not having a purpose was really difficult for me. And I, for a couple of really close friends, was like probably the bane of their life, because every 3 weeks I'd get really excited about another idea, like I'm going to do this, I'm doing this, and I'd go full on into it, and I'd meet with HR companies from big banks to talk about their corporate wellness stuff. And then something would happen and I'd just go off the boil a bit. And then I'd pick up the next idea and run with that. And it was tiring for me, and it was tiring for other people. And it took time to kind of step back and stop putting pressure on myself. And kind of, I mean, I booked onto some marketing seminar thing, and it was giving myself the space to commit. And I didn't know what I was committing to yet, but it just kind of all unraveled, like a kind of a big knot that was there in my mind and my heart just kind of unraveled and gave me a clearer path to what I'm working on now.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar. And I guess giving yourself that time to take a step back and think, hang on a second, what is the bigger picture here? What am I trying to do? And also, I mean, as you said, in the bank, it's funny because it's not like we really have a purpose there. It's just in those full-time jobs, we sort of, whether it's the hamster wheel, conveyor belt, whatever, you kind of just work without really thinking about that. When you're by yourself, as soon as one project ends, as you said, there's sort of that vacuum. It's like, what do you do now? People are looking to you to do something really inspiring and crazy and amazing. There's that pressure.
It's up to you to fill your time.
Yeah.
Which is the beautiful thing, because in corporate world, our time is filled by other people. Our diaries are manipulated by our bosses, by our team assistants, by our colleagues, by our friends in the evening. So we have, I mean, one of the main reasons that I wanted to step back from London was that to meet up with a friend, we were looking 4 weeks ahead, because, and it could be that I was having a night in on my own and I didn't want to give that up. So I was okay at that, but pretty bad at the same time. And it's weird when you're working with yourself, for yourself, you're only answerable, which for someone like me who expects a lot of myself and puts a lot of pressure on, can lead to, there are days when I felt that Deutsche Bank was actually a really easy lifestyle. So that says how like low I felt at various points. Okay. But all for the better, and I've gone through the process of like, right, should I go get a job? Should I just go back into banking and make life all rosy and salaried again? And you sit down and you ask yourself the questions of like, okay, is it because you want money? And you go through, you follow that thought process through to the end, and you realize that no, it's like, for me at least, at the point that I last did it, so 2 months ago, I didn't want, like, my insecurities were not around money. And then I was like, is it because I'm lonely and wanting to work in a team again? And no, because I can engineer that into my life. Is it because I want to be learning in a different way, and learning, when you're kind of put on education courses by your company, or you're just learning from other people more experienced than you in your team structure. And again, I was like, no, I'm doing enough courses. I'm doing really interesting things. I can say yes to anything I get invited to at the moment if it fits in with the strategy. So I kind of ruled that out. But you have to stop yourself every now and again, because when you find yourself on the Guardian jobs website, you know things are pretty rubbish. That's how bad I've had some days. Like, let me just see what's out there, just in case.
But that's good, just in case, as you said. I think reaffirming that, because for some people, and we talked a little bit about that before we got on the recording, that some people, this is not the right thing for them. And it's not to say that anyone that I've ever spoken to has ever regretted taking a few years to explore and do exciting things and then go to a job. But I think, making sure that it is still what you want to do. I think that's, I guess, a challenge to know, where is it, what, this is not working, it's never going to work, and I need to, choose a different path. And where is it, it's going to work, I'm going to make it work, I just need to find exactly how to make it work, I think.
Yeah. Which I should probably touch briefly on. I suddenly realised I haven't actually said what I'm doing now. We're talking about the thing that works.
The thing, what is it?
Which is setting up a company that's linked, well, sort of off the back of Exerc, so the 52 sporting challenges in 52 weeks, but focusing on having it more structured and focused on women. Because I think women engage, well, I know, more to the point, I know that women engage in health and exercise in a very different way to men. Mm-hmm. And so I've put together programs, and it's kind of membership based, that you can join activities, you can have one-to-one coaching in terms of mindset, because most of our problems that I'm talking to corporate women as opposed to freelance women for the time being. And most of those is for everyone it's time management, but for corporates you feel like they control your life. And it's a kind of wrestling back and saying, actually they don't. Let's work out why they don't and how you can make the most. So it's a nice mixture of hand-holding and activity organising.
Well, I love that. And for all the work I do with people, helping them escape that kind of corporate toxic environment, if it is the right thing for them, I love that you're working with those individuals within that frame, because everybody can't leave. It's not the right time now. Maybe it's not the right thing for them ever. And to be able to help them in the situation they're in now is incredibly important.
Good. I'm glad you
so happy to. Yes, I think it's going to work anyway. No, but you mentioned in terms of the support you've got, so you mentioned the marketing seminar there. It sounds like you've done a lot of work yourself as well on your mindset. Where else have you got the support over the last few years through the transition?
People. I'm a big believer in the power of people, and you never quite know what's going to lead or what email. Like, I have no qualms about sending an email off to any company or person that I think looks interesting, just with a nice 2-sentence, you look really interesting, this is what I'm doing. And it's led me down these awesome paths. So the power of people has been my number one thing for sure in that respect, in terms of helping. It can seem like there's loads of stuff I've done on my own, but actually behind that is the validity or the advice or the ideas or the just I don't know, just having a chat on the phone now and again gets your, the way my mind works, that fires up the extrovert and gets things things firing again.
Yeah, well, I love that. And also important not to be just sitting at home at our computers isolated by ourselves. There's a world of connection out there. And what's the best part of your lifestyle right now?
Total flexibility. And you've got to be careful not to abuse that of yourself as well. And for me, it's not the way you'd think it would be. Well, I guess most people would who listen to Fearless Fridays probably are the type of, I don't know what overachiever really means because I'm too embedded in it, but the flexibility, I have to be careful with myself that it means that I do draw limits on the amount of work I do, on the number of calls. I said the power of people, but the problem is you can end up, if you're too yesy, you can end up having all these calls all day that interrupt your concentration just for the sake of having a call. So I'm much more strategic about, is this constructive to the thing I'm working on now? Because I am very bad at, this is where I'm going now with SAS. It's called SAS, the company I'm building. And I am very easily swayed. So if someone comes over here with a really good idea, I will spend half a day considering that and then pull myself back on track. But I can't really, I'm much better now at being no, this is where I'm at now. Really nice to meet you, and let's chat in 3 months' time. And it means that the flexibility stays, because otherwise you lose that flexibility. So yeah, flexibility is my number one benefit. That means giving more time to friends, in times when it's not between the hours of 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. one night every 4 weeks. I can be a bit more hey, I'll pop by and see your new baby or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Just jump on my bike.
Yeah.
So yeah, that for me is number one.
Amazing. And that's very interesting what you said in terms of being swayed by other people. It sounds very familiar to me. And I think it's having the clarity of your vision and what you want to do is what really helps you to go, as you said, that's really interesting. But for now, these are my goals. This is the time I want to spend on this. And that doesn't quite have a place there at the moment. It's a difficult decision, but you have to say no to some things in order to say yes to the bigger
totally
things.
Oh my god, I'm the biggest, like there's a book that I love called The Art of Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown, that is totally about that life isn't about solutions, it's about trade-offs. And if you want to build something new into your life, you have to get rid of the fluff. Like you and I have talked about eBay and selling clothes in the past. That's it. Like it's the fact that you've got, your life is a wardrobe and it's going to get messy, it's going to get full. Every now and again you just need to take out the stuff that isn't working for you anymore and get rid of it and start with some space again and work out what you really want to be successful and happy, because otherwise everyone else will chuck their old laundry at you and so it's a brilliant book that I've now read 3 times in the last 2 years, which is
that's a good tip.
That's how much work I've got to do around this.
But as you said, for the overachiever, whatever you want to call it, high achiever, or this kind of, someone who has a lot of interests, we're passionate, self-motivated and so on, it is so easy, you just keep adding on, and often we don't even stop until it's too late, right? And I'm so interested in now discovering how can you identify the symptoms of burnout before it happens. And most of the time with this kind of individual, I think we just push ourselves, and we almost never reach proper burnout because we are so able to do all these things, and it can go really too far, or unfortunately we may never wake up to it. So I think recognizing that you can't just keep adding things and expecting to keep the same quality of life, quality of relationships and so on.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. I fight it because I want to do everything, but I just don't think to have your health, your family and friends, your work all intact. I think that when I say intact, that's fine. To be like the best daughter or sister or mother or wife, to be the best employee and to be the best at looking great and feeling great. I think we're expecting too much of ourselves, and actually we recognize, like, it's not saying one has to take precedent. It's saying that to have a balanced life, it's not about the day-to-day work-life balance. It's about looking at it over the longer horizon, saying, okay, like 2014 was a really bad year for me, and that's what triggered the 2015 exerc, which was me getting back in control of some of my life. And you look at it in chunks. So maybe you don't even have to do it annually, but you could do it in a year and say, okay, December's going to be a party month. Like, I'm going to wake up most days feeling like I need more sleep. Let's get ready for January. Let's make sure I've got it lined up and committed, not stumble over into New Year's Eve and then regret it. Or I don't know, January is a really typical month. So that's a boring example. But my advice around that would be to not look at day to day, but look at things accretively and look at balance in that way, and recognize, like, if you're wanting a promotion because it will give you a better quality of life, then dedicate for the next 3 months. You go for that. Go for that promotion and tell your friends, like, see ya, I've got to do this for a little bit. And then you're back and you've got that promotion and you've got the responsibility, and you put in a bit of effort to like warrant that afterwards. But you then can settle back and take your foot off the pedal and enjoy the rewards of that, because now you can go out with your friends because you've got a little bit more money to spend, kind of, that kind of stuff. Is a nice thing that I've realized, kind of not on hindsight, but with the space it's taken to get away from that, like, go.
There's a bit of intentionality there, and it is really hard because there is so much pressure on ourselves that we're putting on ourselves and from other people, society, whatever, to be, as you said, the perfect everything. And I think you can have and be and do a lot of things, if not everything, but definitely not, as you said, today. So, right, there's another book, I want to say it's Essentialism, and also the Zen Habits, and all these ideas that you do, one thing per month, or the one thing. There's even a book called One Thing. And I always fought against that too. I thought, just one thing? I've got, like, I want to do my podcast and my book and my group program and everything. And then you realise if you did one thing every month, that's 12 things in a year. That is probably more than what you would do if you tried to do lots of things at the same time. So it's just
point two of 5 things that add up to one. And so I think you'll enjoy this Disciplined Pursuit of Less.
I'll read that too.
Art of Essentialism.
Add that to my book list.
I'm a big reader, so I'm okay with it. I'm reading now. I won't tell you what I'm reading now because I don't want you to think I'm using it on you. Powers of persuasion.
No, I listen to a lot of podcasts too, so I'm sort of voraciously absorbing lots of things.
What's your favourite podcast at the moment?
I'm actually listening to the podcast of my coach, the person I'm working with. So I'm sort of getting obsessed with her. I'm listening to and watching everything she creates. So I'm quite deep into that. But generally, everything on business and success and habits and things, I'm quite fascinated by it. So
yeah, it is interesting. Very, very interesting.
I'm trying to read some novels as well to, as you said, have the balance as well, and not just always be focused on the business as much as I love that.
Briefing. That's what I'm reading as my relaxing book.
I think I have read that, so maybe that's okay not to add that back onto my list. We've already shared quite a bit of your advice, but do you have anything else in terms of either something you wish you'd done differently, or someone else who's at that point now who's like you, maybe a planner and not quite sure they want to take that risky leap? What can they do to move in the right direction?
The thing I'm trying to tell myself, I don't know if it's advice, the thing I'm trying to tell myself is to take life less seriously. Mm-hmm. I think if you're anything like me, you put a lot of pressure on making the most of the moment, and like all that media around us tells us that's the way we should be living. But if you're naturally someone who does that, it can kind of push you over the edge, not in any drastic way, but like it can mean that you don't actually enjoy the things because you're kind of not there because you're thinking about, I don't know, it's a very hard thing to describe, but to enjoy the ride and to take life less seriously, I think probably is something not many people always say on this kind of podcast, but is a really nice reminder to people who are moving out of the corporate and into the other side of things, which is more volatile, which is just as stressful, which is more rewarding, but in very different ways, and all that kind of thing. You just need to kind of enjoy it and be like, oh, this is a new way of having a conversation or of being paid. Like, interesting, I guess. And then you can, reflect on that later. But yeah, take life less seriously.
Love that. Sounds like an element of curiosity as well. You're not going to have all the right answers, or maybe there isn't even a right answer, but just exploring. And as you said, the experience you had in Colombia, that wasn't necessarily the right thing long term, and it didn't even happen sort of in the short term, but it was the best thing that you'd done, and it was what you needed at that time. So sort of a bit of trust as well that the right things will come along, and if something doesn't work out, it's because it's making space for something new, as we just said as well.
Yeah, work hard, but know when to let go of the reins and let the cart cruise, kind of thing.
The cart cruise, love it. So where can we find out more about you and I guess SAS, the new project as well?
Yeah, well, I would love for you guys to go and check out sashealth.co, which is my website, and that gives a little bit more about the way the programs are structured. That's on Facebook at SAS Health, so SUSS Health, which is off the back of We've Got Your Health Sussed. Or simple, satisfying and sustainable solutions. I like alliteration. It's my
I love alliteration.
And then on Instagram, I'm still on my old handle, which is at Exerk Yourself. So EXERK Yourself, which is the 52 and 52 project.
And you're still continuing there, actively sharing it?
Yeah, I'm still. That's a different thing. So the Exerk is more kind of accessible, active adventure. So that exerk.com is the website, and it's exercise and work. So I'm obsessed with helping busy people get active is kind of my thing.
Your big thing.
I don't think it has to be about saving up to climb Everest or taking 5 months off to go cycle from A to B. I think actually you can build adventure and fun into daily life, and SAS is the manifestation of that, just in a bit more bespoke, really, because I've recognized in my research that everyone has different reasons and different obstacles, and it's about bringing those concepts together and freeing people from them, but also bringing people together. So if it's that network element where quite a lot of the people I've been working with recently are people who are looking at career changes, and they've got their CV kind of hanging over them. So it's not just about sport at all. It's about bringing together a holistic aspect. So that's where you can look me up before I ram it on. I get quite excited.
Perfect, don't worry. No, that's great. I'm really happy for you that you found this. And I love in particular that this is not, we're not speaking a few days after you've quit, but we're also not speaking at your, the end goal, whatever that is. And I think that's this in-betweeny part of the journey is the most fascinating to me. It's when you know that, like, I'm in it for the long haul, this is it, you're getting that clarity. But it's
I'll
still
do what it takes.
A journey, it's still that evolution. So
totally. Well, thank you for hosting me, and maybe I'll be back in a year's time with an amazing success story.
Hope so. Well, it will be a success story regardless, is the point, right? Because things shift, and
it may be completely. It will be a success whether it's in its current guise or I morph it into something else. I'm excited to see.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Well, thanks. I'm really happy to finally get you on, and I've been trying to get you on for a while. So thanks so much for giving your time, and best of luck with SAS.
Thank you, Anna.